This is
Essential.
This is Ascential Audio.
Where's this coming from at 3 o'clock?
When a mic gets in front of me, you don't know I'm a Leo.
What was I thinking?
I can bring it.
Welcome back to the MoneyPot from Money 2020. I'm Kisha, Allison, head of content at Money 2020 USA, and I'm here with Monique Ruff-Bell, vice president of events at Ascential, and our event director here at Money 2020 USA. Hi, Monique.
Hey, Kisha. It is so great to be back. I hear a change is coming because this week we are talking about the new Indian century. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so in all our flood of coverage, a very important story about growth in India is being ignored. And I don't mean that they make cool apps or that they're making strides on financial inclusion. The truth is, India is a hotbed for big investments from big players. It's so big, Jeff Bezos has called it the new Indian century, and Amazon has committed $1 billion to its Indian businesses. I was speaking to Melissa Frakman, a VC in India, and she told me,
lots of global Fortune 500 companies are actively looking at the market. Just yesterday, Bezos, who is in India, announced another $1 billion Amazon is contributing to their India business. And he talked about his prediction that the 21st century will be the Indian century.
I was talking to Sanjib, Kalita, our editor-in-chief, about this. He just got back from India and was telling me about the growth, and he completely agrees with that assessment. We talk a lot about fintech in China, and for good reason, but India has an amazing story as well. But tell me more about Melissa.
So Melissa Frakman is the managing partner and founder of Emphasis Ventures, also known as EMVC. You won't find anyone more informed on developments in India than Melissa. She's been named to the Global FinTech Power List by Innovate Finance, and it's all about leapfrogging the legacy technology. Emphasis Ventures works with many in the Fortune 500 who are investing big in India. I'll let her describe it.
We work closely sort of across the global fintech ecosystem. We feel very strongly that the fintech that's being developed in India during this current moment has relevance to global market. Fintech in India remains an extremely vibrant ecosystem. There's so much going on. The country, starting in about 2017, began this trajectory of having a fintech transformation across different parts of the ecosystem. And this drive to digitize things like payments and identity and banking and everything else for people's financial lives is truly affecting every segment of the economy.
So it's clear that the investment is pouring in. I spoke with Sanjib about why it is looking so good as a market to invest in.
And that's why we spoke with Melissa. We really wanted to unpack what makes India so enticing. Melissa started with a little bit of history that's important to give us context. So in November 2016, India began a process called demonetization, where they removed the 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee note. It was a move to stop a lot of black money moving through the market and to fight terrorism. However, the move is still controversial because it could hurt financial inclusion. But that wasn't the only change.
Around the same time, a massive tax reform happened in India, where a goods and services tax was implemented, which dramatically shifted how small businesses kind of do transactions and report them. And so literally millions of new small businesses all of a sudden were starting to digitize, accept digital payments, and report.
So demonetization decreased tax avoidance, and it increased the amount and ways digital payments were being accepted. But let's back up because there were some things that we should talk about. What is the UPI?
The UPI is the Unified Payments Interface. It's an instant real-time payment system developed by the National Payments Corporation of India. It launched in April of 2016 and is a public good.
It's a public good, meaning costs are extremely low, and it's an interoperable system on which any company can build applications and use the underlying payments. So it dramatically increases access to users and small businesses in remote parts of the country. As long as they have a bank account and it's linked to their Aadhaar, their biometric ID, which has wide application, they're able to tap in and send payments in real time automatically.
In India, over half of all digital payments are on UPI, not Visa or MasterCard or some other payment processor. In fact, December alone, UPI had over 1 billion transactions. UPI has made it very tantalizing for big companies to develop in India because it's cheaper and more versatile.
Many global corporates do see India as a place to experiment and pilot new technologies and business models that could have relevance to other markets around the world. If something works in a pilot in India with 1 million customers, it could work somewhere else. Google Pay, interestingly, what is now launched globally, was developed first in India under the name of Tez.
But while Google Pay developed there, UPI also democratizes development, right? It really lowers the threshold to entering fintech.
Yeah, in fact, India is the home to many neobanks, or challenger banks as they're called.
There are many interesting and fast-growing neobanks in India looking to transform how consumer banking is done, as well as companies serving small businesses with accounting, ledger, banking, payroll services across different segments of the market.
So the government has made a push towards digitalizing payments, both by increasing access and need. But a key piece to India being a great place to develop new banking is that they have created a broadly accepted biometric ID, and it unlocks authentication mechanisms for financial services. This takes a lot of burden off the notion of digital payments fraud.
And that allows for a lot of developers to create products on UPI. InsurTech, savings, and investment services are all happening at the same time.
Another factor that became clear when I talked to Sanjib is that the demographics in India are key to change. Over half of the Indian population is under 25, and this new generation is coming up at a time when quality of life in India is improving in general. I spoke with Sanjib, and this is the picture he painted.
The Indian market is so large and growing, and it's actually a younger market than, for example, even China. That often happens when you've got large populations that have stepped up the economic ladder and have, gone from living in, I'd say, more day-to-day into a lifestyle where you can plan ahead more and you can save more to buy appliances, you can buy a car, you can buy a house. And I think that the Indian economy is smack dab at the beginning of that. I was just in India, 2 weeks ago, and the importance of education and how much parents are willing to sacrifice to get their kids educated so that they can have a better life. I think that leads to a population where, you sort of have, I guess, almost go-getters or people who are willing to beat the odds to try to build the next thing. And I think that also, that I just going back even a few decades, where you having something steady was viewed as the penultimate. Now you're in a situation where if you're in a company, a startup, for example, that has great growth potential, those are the people that are, the rock stars, if you will, of the society.
So it is pretty clear that India is becoming central to global fintech and economic development. They have a young population that is increasingly well educated, and they have the optimism of that youth.
And they have prepared the ground by making some very hard decisions to push and pull towards a more digitalized economy. This is attracting all kinds of investors, including a vibrant local venture capital system.
There's a robust ecosystem. So across different verticals and sectors, there's lots of specialized, strong investors. There's also a strong and continuing to grow network of angels in India, many of whom became angel investors after the first wave of really strong tech and e-commerce startup successes over the past 10 years in the market, and now are back very actively working with founders.
Well, that feels like a good place to end. I hope that this is helpful to the many VCs out there wondering about emerging markets. We are planning on talking about several opportunities in emerging markets over the next couple of months.
Yes, and we hope you're looking to the Money 2020 conferences, where emerging markets will continue to be a theme on our stages. Money 2020 Asia is getting ready for its show in Singapore on March 24th to the 26th, so go get a ticket now. Also, you still have a week to submit content to the Money 2020 Europe show. The Money 2020 US call for content goes live on March 16th, and we already have tickets on sale at our best price for the October show on February 14th.
Wow, Kisha, it is clear we have a lot that we need to keep on people's radar. So make sure you go subscribe to this podcast as well, The MoneyPot, on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next week.
This is
Essential.
This is Ascential Audio.